At my brother's wedding. I was asked to serve drinks, just for a bit, because they were short on staff. I'm a surgeon. His wife's cousin then said loudly, she's just playing doctor anyway. I poured her champagne, smiled, and said, you'll need a real one when that Botox infection sets in. The entire table went quiet until. My name's Lila. I'm 36, and I'm a trauma surgeon at Massachusetts General in Boston. I've spent most of my adult life training, studying, working through sleepless nights, losing patients, saving others. I've missed birthdays, holidays, and even funerals because I've been in the operating room. My job is demanding, but I love what I do. My younger brother Nico, he's 32, recently got married to a woman named Ava. She comes from a wealthy family in Connecticut, old money, socialite-type gatherings, designer everything. Ava's nice enough on the surface, though we've never been especially close. I always got the sense that she found me too intense or not girly enough. Her family is the type that smiles with their mouths and judges with their eyes. You know the type. The wedding was set in Newport, Rhode Island, at one of those waterfront estates that gets rented out for absurd amounts of money. It was picturesque, white tents, string lights, and champagne flowing like water. Think Vogue meets New England prep school reunion. I drove up the morning of the wedding after finishing an overnight shift. I had gotten maybe 3 hours of sleep but still showed up on time, in a pale blue dress Ava had approved weeks earlier. No fuss. Hair in a clean low bun. Simple heels. I wasn't trying to stand out. I was there to support my brother. As soon as I arrived, Margot, Ava's mother, flagged me down. She had on a gold shawl that looked like it cost more than my monthly rent and a smile that was so tight it was almost painful to look at. Oh, Lila, there you are, she said, holding her hands out like we were close. Listen, we're having a tiny little crisis. One of the servers canceled at the last minute. Would you mind helping out at the bar for just a short while? Just until we get through cocktail hour. I blinked. You want me to serve drinks? Just for a bit, she said, breezy like it was no big deal. We're terribly short-staffed, and you're so capable. It would mean the world. Now, maybe it was the exhaustion, or maybe I just didn't want to cause a scene on Nico's big day, but I nodded. Sure. I can help. I figured it would be 10 minutes max. Maybe I'd hand out champagne flutes, wipe a counter, then disappear into the crowd and pretend it never happened. That was not what happened. 45 minutes later, I was still behind a portable bar, trying to figure out the difference between a French 75 and a gin fizz, while guests in designer suits and heels treated me like invisible staff. No one made eye contact. Some tossed their orders over their shoulders while talking to someone else. One guy actually snapped his fingers at me. To say it was humiliating would be an understatement. I kept looking for Nico, hoping he'd notice and rescue me. But he was understandably busy playing host, and I didn't want to bother him with something that felt, at least then, small in the grand scheme of things. Then Candace happened. Candace is Ava's cousin. Early 30s, platinum blonde, fillers in all the expected places, and a self-proclaimed wellness coach. She's the type who posts about manifesting your dream body while selling collagen powders and hosting yoga retreats in Costa Rica. I'd met her twice before, both times brief and painful. She sauntered up with a glass already in her hand and a posse of equally overprocessed women trailing her. She did a dramatic double take when she saw me. Wait, Lila? Is that you? Are you bartending? I was pouring a glass of Prosecco at the time and didn't even look up. Helping out. She laughed, loud and theatrical. Oh my God. The doctor is playing bartender now. Guess she's just playing doctor anyway. Her whole group burst out laughing like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. Like I was some failed med school dropout role-playing Grey's Anatomy behind a drink cart. I finished pouring, stepped over, and picked up a chilled bottle of champagne. I held eye contact with Candace, smiled, and gently poured it into her empty glass. Careful, I said, still smiling. You'll need a real doctor when that Botox infection sets in. The sound of pouring stopped. The glassy tinkle of someone stirring a cocktail halted. You could have heard a pin drop. Candace stared at me. Her face, frozen as it already was, couldn't even contort into anger. Her friends started, mouths parted. A few turned away. One actually giggled. Then I walked away. Just walked. Past the bar, past the rows of seated guests, past the hydrangea centerpieces and strings of lights, out toward the edge of the tent where the cold ocean breeze hit me like a slap. I leaned on a railing overlooking the water, closed my eyes, and let myself breathe. I wasn't even angry. Not really. Just tired. Tired of always being the accommodating one. The one who stays quiet so others can shine. The one who gets asked to play server at a wedding I took time off a double shift to attend. The one who has to defend herself in every room, even when her resume should speak louder than anything else. About 20 minutes later, Nico found me. He was still in his tux, hair a little messy, boutonniere askew. He looked like a groom should look, happy, overwhelmed, and maybe slightly buzzed. I just heard what happened, he said, sounding breathless. Lila, I didn't know. I swear to God, if I'd known they asked you to work the bar, I held up my hand. It's fine. No, it's not, he said. You're my sister. You're a guest. They had no right. He sat next to me on the railing, then handed me a napkin-wrapped slice of cake. Lemon. With raspberries. Your favorite. I smiled, barely. You remembered. I always do. We sat in silence for a while. In the distance, I could hear the music start up again. People were dancing, laughing. Living in a bubble where nothing awkward had happened just moments ago. Nico glanced at me. Come back in? You don't have to talk to anyone. Just, be there. For me. I didn't answer right away. I wanted to tell him that I was done making myself small for other people's comfort. That I'd had enough of being the polite, agreeable sister who bites her tongue while others strip her of dignity. That I was exhausted, not just from work, but from always being the bigger person. But I looked at him. And saw the kid I used to read to at night when Mom was working doubles. The kid I'd taught to tie a tie, who once ran 3 miles in the snow to get help when I fell ice skating. The man who still calls me when he gets a cold, just to ask if it's serious. So I nodded. Okay. We walked back into the reception, and I kept my head high. I didn't pour another drink. I didn't fake a smile. I stood quietly near the dance floor, watched my brother take his new wife's hand, and danced by myself for one song before leaving early. That night, I drove back to Boston in silence. I haven't heard from Candace since. But that silence? It's louder than anything she could ever say. Over the next few days, I didn't speak to anyone from the wedding except Nico. I needed space, not just from the event, but from the whole dynamic. I threw myself into work. 2 emergency appendectomies and a pelvic fracture later, I almost forgot about the champagne and the Botox line and how it felt to be humiliated in front of a table of strangers like I was a prop in someone else's little show. Almost. But then the text messages started coming in. First was Ava. A short, awkwardly formal message that read, "Hey Lila. I heard something went down at the reception. Just wanted to say sorry if things got weird. Candace can be a little intense. Hope you're okay." I didn't answer right away. It was vague, non-committal, and honestly kind of insulting. Things got weird? Like I had a wardrobe malfunction or spilled wine on someone's dress, not been publicly demeaned and shoved behind a bar like the hired help. Intense? No. Candace was cruel. I left it to read. Not to be petty, but because, for once, I wanted someone else to feel the silence. Nico called that night. We talked for an hour. He apologized again, and I could hear the guilt in his voice. He told me Margot had tried to justify asking me to serve drinks by saying, "She's not above helping out, right? She's always so grounded." As if that made it okay. Ava's really upset too, he said. She wants to talk. I sighed. Did she ask to talk to me? There was a pause. No. She just thought maybe it would help if you two cleared the air. I didn't respond. Not because I was trying to punish Ava, but because I had nothing to clear. I hadn't insulted anyone. I hadn't turned a wedding into a workplace hierarchy. I hadn't made a guest feel small or invisible. Then came the email. From Candace. Yes, Candace. The subject line was about the wedding. I opened it, mostly out of morbid curiosity. It read, "Hey Lila. I just wanted to say I hope there are no hard feelings. I didn't mean anything serious by what I said, everyone was drinking and joking around. I think we just got off on the wrong foot. I admire what you do, I really do. It was just a silly comment. Hope you can laugh about it someday. It ended with a winky face emoji. I stared at my screen for a long time. I didn't reply. I archived the message, and then I closed my laptop. The thing that got to me wasn't even her fake apology, it was the confidence behind it. The assumption that if she typed up something vaguely apologetic and added a flirty emoji, I'd let it all go. But I'm not built that way. A few days later, I was back in the hospital when one of our surgical residents, Trina, stopped me in the hallway. "Hey, Dr. Serrano. Sorry, just wanted to say, I saw that post going around on Facebook. The one from the wedding? With you and the champagne bottle?" I blinked. "What?" She pulled out her phone, scrolled, and showed me. It was a blurry candid photo, someone had taken it from across the tent, probably without knowing what they'd captured. You could see me standing behind the bar, pouring champagne with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes, and Candace with her hand on her hip, clearly in mid-laugh. The caption said, "When your brother's a doctor and your sister-in-law's cousin is an influencer #wedding moments #know your place." I felt my stomach turn. The post had dozens of likes and some comments, mostly from Candace's circle, laughing it off. And there were tags, I'd been tagged. Apparently, Candace hadn't just insulted me at the wedding, she'd bragged about it online. I untagged myself. Reported the photo. Blocked her on every platform I could find. Then I went home that night, opened a bottle of Cabernet, and finally, replied to Ava's message. "Thanks for reaching out. I was trying to let it go, but after seeing that post Candace made, I don't think I can brush this off as a weird moment. Being asked to serve drinks at my own brother's wedding was humiliating enough. The public mockery afterward makes it worse. I understand she's family, but respect goes both ways. I won't be attending any events where I'm expected to be quiet about being treated like a joke. Hope you understand." I didn't send it right away. I let it sit in my drafts overnight. Then, the next morning, after rereading it for the 4th time, I hit send. The response came within an hour. Ava's tone was defensive, then offended, then oddly formal. She insisted she had no idea about the post and claimed that she'd never meant to exclude me from the celebration. But I wasn't interested in rebuilding fake bridges. I wasn't looking for family politics or forced reconciliation. I was looking for acknowledgement. And I wasn't getting it. Nico called that night. "She's hurt," he said quietly. "So am I," I replied. There was a long silence. "She didn't make the post," he said. "She can't control what Cadence does." "Then why is she defending it?" "I don't know." And he didn't. That's what hurt the most, he genuinely didn't. We didn't fight, but there was a heaviness in the conversation we hadn't had before. A weight that sat between us like fog. He said he'd talk to Ava again. He asked if I'd come to the brunch they were hosting the following weekend. I asked, "Will Candace be there?" He hesitated. "Yeah. But she said she'd be civil." "I don't want civility," I said. "I want respect." He didn't answer. I didn't go to brunch. Instead, I spent that Sunday volunteering for a free clinic in Roxbury, treating people who were grateful to have anyone care at all. No linen napkins. No curated guest list. No social climbers pretending they weren't performing. Just real people, real needs, and real purpose. I left that day feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Still, I knew the fallout wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Ava's family wasn't going to let this drop quietly. And as much as I loved my brother, I started to wonder just how much of their world he'd already started to slip into. I didn't hear from Nico for 3 days after that. Which, in our history, was a long time. He'd always been the kind of brother who texted the dumbest memes or sent photos of weird sandwiches he tried to make. Our communication was never deep unless it had to be, but it was consistent. This silence felt surgical. Not angry. Not accidental. Like someone had stepped in and suggested, maybe, just for a while, "Let's put Lila on ice." When he finally called, I was in the middle of writing a patient discharge summary, sitting on the floor of the resident lounge at the hospital because all the chairs were taken. I let it ring twice before answering. I didn't want to sound eager. His voice was slow. Careful. Hey. Hey, I replied, not helping him out of the awkwardness. I wanted to talk about brunch. I kept typing. Okay. I know why you didn't come. I'm not mad. I want you to know that people noticed. I stopped typing. What does that mean? He exhaled. It means some of Ava's family thought it was a statement. You're skipping. After everything. They're saying it's driving a wedge. A bitter laugh slipped out of me. You think I'm the one driving the wedge? I'm just telling you what they're saying. I didn't make a joke out of your wedding. I didn't tag my sister-in-law in a meme that says know your place. I didn't humiliate anyone in public. He paused again. They think you're overreacting. There it was. The sentence I knew was coming, but hoped he'd have the spine not to say. I felt the heat rise in my chest. Not anger. Something colder. Disappointment. That heavy, sinking kind that eats your stomach lining. I'm not overreacting, I said, slowly, deliberately. I am reacting. And the only reason it feels big is because no one around you has ever told them no. I told Candace off, he said quickly. I did. Behind closed doors? Lila, she went viral on social media for mocking me at your wedding, Nico. You think a private hey, maybe don't do that again fixes it? He didn't answer. And that silence? It told me everything. I let out a breath, then leaned my head against the wall. I could hear voices on the other side, laughing, joking, residents who still believed the job could be separated from your identity. I used to think that, too. I don't need her to apologize, I said. Not anymore. But I needed you to defend me. Not just privately. Not just when it was convenient. His voice cracked a little. I didn't think it would blow up like this. That's the problem, I replied. You didn't think about me at all. We ended the call not with a fight, but with that heavy kind of silence again. He said, okay, and I said, good night, and we hung up. I went back to my paperwork, but my heart wasn't in it. Later that week, things escalated. I was getting ready to scrub into a case when my phone buzzed, an alert from a mutual friend who follows Candace on Instagram. Apparently, she had posted a new video to her stories. She was getting beauty IVs at a boutique clinic in Stamford and making snide jokes about doctors who serve drinks and surgeons with superiority complexes. She never said my name, but she didn't have to. The context was unmistakable. The message was clear, she'd turned this into a joke. Her followers, most of whom didn't know me, flooded her comments with laughing emojis, clapping hands, and fake medical jokes. And one comment stood out, LMAO, this the one from that wedding? That told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about a misunderstanding. It wasn't about a joke that landed wrong. Candace was doing it on purpose. She wanted to be the girl who clowned the surgeon's sister. The rich, bored influencer taking shots at someone who had worked for every goddamn thing she had. I didn't screenshot it. I didn't even respond. But I did get a call from someone unexpected. Ava. Her name lit up on my screen while I was sitting on my couch that Friday night, watching some procedural crime show on mute and eating cereal straight from the box. My instinct was to decline the call, but curiosity won. Hello? Hi, she said, her voice tight. I wanted to speak to you directly. I said nothing. I know we haven't had a real conversation since the wedding, she began, and I regret that. I should have called sooner. I didn't know how to approach it. You could have started by not pretending it was weird, I said evenly. She winced, I could hear it. You're right. That was dismissive. She paused, as if checking how far she could go without setting me off. I saw Candace's post, she continued. The video. I had no idea she was still doing that. I told her to stop. I didn't say anything. I'm embarrassed. And I'm sorry. She crossed a line, and I should have said something at the wedding. I should have defended you. You were humiliated. And I stood there. That's on me. Now that surprised me. Not the apology itself, but the acknowledgement. The use of real words. No euphemisms. No sugarcoating. I waited a moment. What changed? There was a pause. My father saw the video. He asked why my husband's sister was being made fun of by my cousin. He was furious. Of course. Now it made sense. Reputation. Optics. Not principle. I see, I said quietly. Ava seemed to catch the shift. I'm not saying that's the only reason. But it forced me to look at how I've been complicit. I let her speak. Let her try. I don't expect you to forgive Candace. I'm not even asking that. I just wanted you to know I do see what happened now. I see what we let happen. She was trying, I could tell. And yet, there was a hollowness behind the words. Like it had taken a public fallout to finally give my side any weight. Thanks for calling, I said finally. I didn't promise anything. I didn't agree to a sit down. I just acknowledged her effort. Barely. And after we hung up, I sat there on my couch, letting the weight of it all settle in. That's when Nico texted me. She told me she called. Thank you for hearing her out. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened a new note in my phone, and I wrote something simple. Love doesn't mean silence. Loyalty doesn't mean tolerance. And family doesn't mean self-erasure. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet. But I knew I wasn't going back to pretending everything was fine. Weeks went by. I didn't see Nico or Ava in person. We kept things polite over text. Birthdays. A forwarded article about new trauma unit upgrades. Small talk. Cordial. Controlled. I didn't speak to Candace. She continued doing her thing, posting filtered videos from spas, marketing detox teas, talking about bad energy while living off trust funds. But the video she posted mocking me? It didn't just disappear. You see, there's a thing about the internet. It doesn't forget. About 6 weeks after the wedding, one of my colleagues, Dr. Rohit Malik, forwarded me an email. It was from a medical misinformation watchdog group that tracks health influencers who peddle unsafe advice. Apparently, someone, and I can neither confirm nor deny it was me, had anonymously submitted screenshots of Candace's posts where she recommended 4 drips to replace vaccines and claimed Botox was a natural muscle relaxer. The watchdog group had started tracking her. Next thing I knew, the clinic in Stanford where Candace filmed her infamous IV therapy stories was under fire for violating FDA marketing rules. They were also being investigated by the state for having unlicensed practitioners perform procedures. That part? I had nothing to do with that. I didn't need to. Candace's own videos, boasting about how she doesn't trust real doctors, were all it took. She handed them the rope herself. But it didn't stop there. Remember that post Candace made at the wedding, the one with the caption "Know Your Place"? Yeah, that made its way into a small op-ed piece written by a blogger who writes about misogyny in affluent social circles. The blog, which normally covers things like Silicon Valley's bro culture or country club racism, used the image as an example of how accomplished women are often minimized, even by their own families. They didn't name me, but the context was crystal clear. The caption. The tone. The doctor served drinks. It hit a nerve. It went viral. Suddenly, Candace's brand took a hit. Several wellness companies she was ambassadoring for quietly removed her from their influencer rosters. One even posted a very generic PR statement about rethinking their partnerships. She tried damage control, of course. Posted a few teary Instagram stories. Talked about cyberbullying and how she was being taken out of context. No one bought it. I watched all of this unfold from my apartment, glass of wine in hand, face lit by the glow of my laptop. I didn't gloat publicly. I didn't comment. I didn't even share it with friends. I just watched. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't a mic drop moment or a public takedown. Sometimes it's just letting people show the world who they really are, and watching as the world reacts accordingly. Nico eventually called. This time, there was no awkward preamble. Okay, he said. What the hell happened? I kept my voice calm. What do you mean? She's melting down. Candace. She thinks you're behind all of it. I didn't post the video. She did, I said simply. I didn't mock a doctor with 15 years of surgical training and then brand it as a joke. I didn't say anything that wasn't already public. She's saying you tried to ruin her career. I almost laughed. Does she have a career? He didn't answer. I'm not here to ruin anyone, I added. I'm here to be left the hell alone. That's all I ever wanted. He sighed. I just wish it hadn't turned into this. It didn't turn into anything, I replied. It revealed something. And that was it. From then on, things were different between Nico and me. Not hostile. But distant. Civil. I went back to my routines. Surgery. Teaching residents. Helping launch a mentorship program for young women in STEM. I did the work I cared about. I filled my days with purpose and people who respected me. Months passed. Then, one morning, I received a thick, cream-colored envelope in the mail. Ava's handwriting. Inside, an invitation to their summer renewal celebration. A garden party. Hosted by her parents. With a special acknowledgement of the contributions of women in the family. I nearly laughed out loud. Inside was a handwritten note from Ava. Lila, we've been thinking about how we got off on the wrong foot. I know it doesn't erase what happened, but I want you to know that your strength made me see things differently. I've had hard conversations with my family, and I'm learning. If you feel like it, we'd love to have you there. Not as a guest. Not as an extra. As part of the family. Ava. I didn't go. But I did reply, Ava, thank you for the invitation. I truly appreciate the gesture. I'm glad to hear things are changing. I won't be attending, not out of bitterness, but because I've learned that not every table is worth sitting at. Best of luck, Lila. And I meant it. I didn't need their garden party, their champagne, or their curated redemption arcs. I had a different kind of satisfaction. Knowing that Candace would think twice before mocking a woman for having ambition. Knowing Ava would never again assume silence meant approval. And knowing that Nico would, hopefully, start to see the difference between keeping peace and keeping someone small. I didn't seek revenge. I just stopped playing their game. And somehow, that was the sweetest payback of all.